You are now tuning into the Soul Session.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Soul Session. I'm one of your hosts, Rebecca.
And I'm Elekaiii.
And we're here with one of my really good friends. He is the president of Studio 18. He is also a kickboxer, a model, an actor, and a musician. We have Treyvon Love.
What's up, guys?
Welcome.
How you guys doing? I'm excited to be here.
Great.
I'm excited for you guys to be here. So to start off, I want to explain to the people watching, who are you? Who's Treyvon Love? Tell us about...
Facts.
Man. Well, I mean, it's been a long life, but currently right now, like you said, you gave a great intro. I'm just an entertainer and an artist and creator of all sorts. I don't feel like, especially nowadays in today's society, it's celebrated to flourish multiple of your talents. Back in the day, it was like you're an actor or you're a singer, you know what I mean? And when that person tried to cross over, there was like, some pushback. But now you almost have to have multiple things in the industry just to stay afloat, you know what I mean? Just facts. To be relevant. But that being said, so I try to take my talents and just apply them where I can. But right now, just focused on the music again and training to fight as well. I love to do that. Amateur kickboxer right now, but
very well versed.
Yeah. And I've been the president of one of Orlando's top recording studios, Studio 18. Studio 18's been in town almost 12 years now, so it's beautiful to be a part of that organization, and to have my footprint and my handprint on it. Been there about 3 years, and things are going well, so I love Studio 18, but I've taken a small step back just to kind of focus on my own music and to give back to myself, because for the last few years I've really been pouring into other artists and just helping other creators, find their path and create their work. And I've been creating on the side, but it's hard to run a business and help other people with their creations, and then have not only the time, but I think I had the time. It was just the creative energy. It's hard to then, take that and apply it back to yourself. So now that I have some free time, working on 4 projects that I want to get done by next year. Yeah. So 4 projects at one time. One is going to be a reggae cover album. I started.
Love that.
So I started. Musically, I started as like for lack of a better word, maybe like a conscious hip hop rapper.
Yeah.
Started rapping when I was like, or writing music, not even rapping. I was writing poetry ever since I was a kid. I think that's where it really started. Was just, I love literature. I love words. I think it's very magical. I love how you can put things together in sentences, and it just gets me going. Just double entendres and similes and metaphors, and it's just amazing to my mind to have someone like, say something and it relates over here and all the craziness. So
it's all like a web.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So started with poetry, and then I think like 15, 16, after my first heartbreak, that's when I was like, all right, let me write a song, listening to a bunch of Drake and a bunch of Kid Cudi as a kid.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah, right? So I started just like rapping on Kid Cudi beats, and then, kind of dabbling, making my beats. I had my dad's MacBook. I had no setup, so I had like GarageBand, download a beat, and then like rap into the MacBook.
Gotta work with what you got,
and then learn how to like kind of mix on there on Garage as much as I could at that time, for the education that I had. But it was really just about taking the feelings and the emotions that were on the inside, and I had this new way to get it out to the world in a very comfortable way, other than sports, which was cool. And so I started like really rapping and trying to challenge myself with wordplay, but always staying kind of lack for a better term, conscious, in a way. But I think that term has gotten played out over the last time. It's just really understanding, like, everybody talks about the things that are relevant to their life. You know what I mean? Just because you're a street artist doesn't mean. I think Kodak Black is very conscious.
Yeah.
If you understand the lingo and you understand the background and you understand the culture of where this person comes from, and you're able to sit down and like watch certain individuals who may seem, you have to cut through their talk and cut through their accents and things of that nature. But when you do, and you really listen to what people are saying, you can tell, so even cats, like, just because you're a street cat doesn't mean you don't make conscious music. Rod Wave too, so for me, it was just making the music that felt good. I was in Hawaii for
Beautiful place.
Yeah, from like 18 until
Which island?
Oahu. So I was on Oahu from like 18 until 24. Probably like 6 years, just learning and being free from like America and free from the density and all this energy. And
sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's where I got to
immaculate.
Oh my god, yeah,
Hawaii
for
is
sure,
amazing.
it was amazing, and it was just a cool place because it allowed me to grow into a free being. You know what I mean? Just really, really grow without pressures, and like what can any person, but specifically what can a young black man from America, you know, from the States who grew up in, you know, different situations, if you take these kids, whether you're black, white, whatever, but kids in poverty, kids in bad environments, and you were to put them in an environment that was free and didn't have the same pressures that they have, what would they become? You know what I mean? Like what would they be able to do with themselves and with their life? So that's what Hawaii allowed me to do, is just be in a place where I was safe. I was able to think and live a life that was just different from everything else, and it allowed me to develop independently. So when I came back to America, it took a lot of, not America, but like the mainland, we call it, took a lot of adjusting, but I was able to take that bit of peace and, you know, vibration that I have with me and keep it inside of me as I like maneuvered through the crazy music industry and all this stuff. So now I'm making music that is like more melodic. I'm really singing. The goal too is to start a band. I really want to. I'm kind of not pushing past hip hop. Like I love hip hop, but I want to explore, like, push the boundaries of what is hip hop. That's why I love,
like, branching genres.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I love, you know, cats like Kid Cudi, even Kanye, even, you know, just Absol. Oh my God, Absol just dropped an amazing song. But like certain individuals who push the idea of not only what is hip hop, but what is music. You know what I mean? Especially like Cudi alone, you know, the singing and the humming and all that. That wasn't something that was cool 10 years ago, you know, but he pushed the boundaries of like, this is allowed too. You know what I mean? These things are allowed within this genre, and we're going to push it to its extent, you know? Yeah. Like, people hate when I say this, but my favorite Kanye album is Jesus. It's just because
I'm with you on that.
Because it's just like he really pushed sonic boundaries. You know what I mean? Like into, you know, EDM, into house, into like hip hop and this fusion. It was crazy. So that's what I'm impressed about. So that's where I'm at now, is like trying to take my hip hop roots and expand them, fuse them with, you know, reggae and just more of a sonic, like melodic sound. So to do that, working on like a reggae cover album, taking some songs that are not even close to reggae, and turning them into, you know, a reggae version, maybe like reggae trap, and doing that, working on an actual debut album. I have probably like 4 or 5 albums out, but none of them have been done like, you know, through a label and through an actual studio. It was just me and my, you know, in the
but
basement. But
you have your own label.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm starting it. I'm working on it now. You know what I mean? So
big plans.
Yeah, big plans. So working on that album, working on the reggae cover album. My dad, he's a filmmaker. He has a new
super cool dude.
Yeah. Awesome. So shout out Devada. It's his new feature length film. That is like a action superhero movie, and it's an amazing movie. So I'm working on the soundtrack for that. Kind of like Black Panther, how they did a soundtrack with the Black Panther. So I'm kind of working on that as well. And so then
just tons of creativity.
Yeah. And then the last number 4 is, you know, before I kind of like, I don't say I'll ever fully let go of like rapping itself, but before I go like full, you know, melodic superstar, I want to kind of tap back into just really show these cats one time, because everybody, like me looking the way I look, especially being a rapper coming up, I had to prove myself, you know what I mean? Because I don't look hard, I don't look street, I don't look whatever, even though I've had those experiences because of how I look. I would go to shows like in LA in the hood, get on stage, and there's 500 people there, and everybody starts laughing. Like before I even start rapping, like they're just like, poof, the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is this? And then I do my shit, and they're like, oh, you know. So I always had this hill, and then people always ask me, "You make reggae music? Oh, you make reggae?" I was like, and it came like this chip on my shoulder, like, no, I don't make reggae. Even though I love reggae, I lived in the islands. Like, that's the music my soul wanted to make.
Yeah.
I did it for so long because everybody wanted that from me. I was like, no, I rap. Y'all need to listen to this.
Yeah.
So once I got over that kind of like pride and realized that I'm dope either way, you know what I mean? Whatever I make, now I'm like, all right, I want to do one more kind of like a rap project. It's going to be a mixtape, an actual mixtape, like an old school Gangsta Grills, like mixtape, not an album that they call a mixtape and it's all new beats. I want to call it The Flood, and it's an homage to Lil Wayne's projects, The Drought. So we had The Drought 1, The Drought 2, The Drought 3, and basically at the start of the year, whatever songs that just drop that are the hottest shit out, I'm gonna just murder them. I'm just gonna straight up murder them. Straight rap, and just to prove my point one last time, you know. So kind of like Wayne did back in the day when he was just like, anybody could drop a song, and then if you heard that lighter flick come on, everybody, oh my god, Wayne got on my song, he's about to kill me, like, oh. So I just want to really take that last leap and just get into the rap side one more time while I'm working on the melodic stuff, and then after those projects, I'll step back and I'll be like, all right.
And then it's time for the reggae.
Well,
the
yeah,
reggae
I mean,
covers. Yeah,
reggae covers. Well, I'm going to be working on all this simultaneously. So the rap one, the debut album, the reggae, and the what is it called? The movie soundtrack. So that's the goal, is to get all those done by next year, and then kind of maybe not necessarily take a step back from the music, but you know, if they don't call me, I'm not coming. Basically, like, you know, I just need to take a breather and. Unless the check's coming, unless LA's calling, then I ain't getting shit from it, you know.
But I'm sure there'll be so much growth from that like you'll have like a whole different like paradigm of thought of like where the next steps are.
Yeah, like, and that's kind of where I'm at in my life. You know, I'm 29 now. I turned 30 in the summertime. So
when's your birthday?
July 9th.
What does that make you?
Cancer.
Okay. I think it's really cool that you also do reggae too. And I know that's something that you don't want to like, oh, I'm just a reggae artist. Yeah. But I think that's super cool because in Orlando, you don't see a lot of that. And that's one of my favorite genres.
And that was a thing too. It's like the business side of me, right? Because when I was in Hawaii, I was just making music. I was throwing shows. Actually, University of Hawaii, the sound teacher, shout out Peter Chamberlain. Anytime I get a shout out, that dude helped my career so much. But he was one of the teachers at the university, and he gave me a key to his studio and let me build a recording studio in his room, in the back of his room. Wow. He gave me a key and said, just don't burn it down. You know, so we were there at 3 a.m. recording, like I was working, and that was a big step in my career to like just kind of become. But I was just creating. So I went and got my master's from Full Sail in entertainment business, so I could understand the business behind, you know, the actual game, really understanding the business behind everything.
Would you say that was a game changer, that it was worth it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Now, I love Full Sail. I think I took full advantage of it. I don't think it's right for everybody. I really don't. I don't believe if I was 18 years old, 17, 18, coming out of high school, I don't think I would have been ready for the demand of a school like that. And the actual, you know, like I was in Hawaii, like I flunked a few classes, you know what I mean? I played around, but like if you go there straight out of high school, you really don't have any opportunity to play around. You're like,
that's for like people who know this is what I want to do.
Exactly.
You went to Full Sail too, right?
No, I do know. I do have a lot of friends who have, and they just everyone tells me that it's not a joke. It's like
it's no joke, and it's like the industry. The industry's not a joke. Even like if you're, you know, even behind the scenes in the industry, like the work, the pace, like how things just roll and how it goes. So like they really try to implement that. So I don't think if you're ready for that, then, or if you don't know what you want to do, then I don't think. But for me, it was a good place because I was doing everything already. So when I went there, I learned new things, but I wasn't learning like how to do things or new things in the sense of this is what you have to do. I was learning the terminology for what I already was doing. So they would teach about SEO marketing, and I was like, oh, that's what I've been doing when I'm on Google trying to blah, blah, blah. They would teach about promotion, or they would teach about certain things, branding. I'm like, oh, I've been doing all this. I just didn't know what I was doing. So now they gave me the infrastructure in my mind to like go. So to speak on the reggae was, you know, once I kind of had that revelation of like, I'm going to make the music I want to make. and I don't care what anybody says. I thought my business brain kicked in, and especially here in Orlando, Central Florida, you have so much good talent, so much music that's overlooked. And I think a part of it is everybody's trying to do the same thing. Not maybe make the same sound, but be the same thing. Most artists coming through the studio in Orlando want to be a rapper. Mm-hmm. There's so many Orlando rappers. Yes. Number 2 is probably like pop stars, like some singer, like pop singers. Mm-hmm. I don't get a lot of country artists, but every now and then country, pop and R&B is like number 2.
How about like EDM?
And EDM, mm-hmm. But most of the time, those EDM vocalists are really pop vocalists, and EDM producers are, those worlds kind of mesh. But in Orlando, I was like, yo, who's the face of Orlando hip hop? I mean, Orlando reggae. Like, I could say the face of Orlando hip hop. You could throw out Glock 9. You are the face
of Orlando reggae.
You could throw out, Pootie. You could throw out Hot Boy. But if you really say the face of Orlando reggae, I've asked people who've been in the town for 10 years and no one can give me an answer. So when I saw that, I was like, boom. All right, this is my lane. This is actually my hometown. I'm from Orlando. Like, let me go in this lane and let me really take it over. Because 1, there's less competition. 2, there's no king of that genre right now. No one's even really fighting for that spot. You know what I mean? To be like, yo, I'm Orlando, right? Like, we're from blah, 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 blah. So I saw that lane, and now I'm working on getting that going.
That's really smart, because in all markets, like especially in the like art industry, music, videography, whatever.
Yeah.
There's something called the Blue Ocean Strategy. Have you guys heard of it?
Say that.
You read that book?
I read that book.
So basically, it's like to win your competition in business, you make a new area.
It's going into the least saturated area of business, because you're way more likely to basically stand out and be the number one, the face.
Yeah.
If you're not going into something like you said, like everybody's trying to come into the studio to be a rapper, so their probability.
You made your own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've seen one group that I've kind of followed over the last couple of years that I would say is kind of making a little kind of like run as like a cool Orlando reggae, and I think they're called Cashed Out. I don't know if you heard of them, but they're called Cashed Out. I met their merchandise brand manager one time. He was working somewhere, and I met him. He told me about this reggae, so I followed him. And then they actually had a concert at the Orlando Amphitheater, and I went and saw that. I think it was when Damien came out, but it was cool to like. It's cool just to kind of dip in that world and see. But when I went and saw them, like they're great musicians. Like, I don't take anything away from any artist that gets on stage and makes music and pours their soul out, because that's what we do. We take things from the inside, we bring it out to the world,
expression.
And we hope that the world doesn't eat us up for it. But usually they do. But either way, so I'm watching and I'm like, yo, like there's nothing that they're doing that I can't do. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing so immaculately special about these guys. No offense, Cash Out, I love your music, but I'm just saying, like, there's nothing like so immaculate that was making me like, oh, I can't do that. It was like, no, that is like very, very, very easy, and it was just cool to see. And then within the reggae as well, you notice that as you dive in, there's within that genre, just like hip hop, just like there's a blend. You have different kind of sounds within reggae. You have the kind of like white boy Cali reggae, the Sublime,
the sticky
fingers. I love Sticky Fingers, but like it's a sound. You know what I mean? When you put on Sticky Fingers, like my friend showed me the first time I heard him, I was like, yo, this is dope, musically dope, boom, boom. But I was like, right away, I'm like, these are white boys. Like are they from Cali or are they from West Coast? Like, I could just tell that sound, but that's a sound. Even in Hawaii, you go to Hawaii and cats like Jay Boogs and Fiji and
Eli Mack.
Yeah,
I know so many Hawaiian. I love reggae. So but I want to know some of your
kind of reggae, right? It's kind of like slower. It's kind of more lovey, and then you go to like where reggae started, their roots in Jamaica. Like that shit can get really dubby. Like there's so many blends within that, So, and even shout out, Soulja is one of my favorite bands. They just won their first Grammy, and they had a big controversy over it because at the end of the day, they're white dudes from DC. So it was a big controversy. But my thing was being half black, half white, right? My thing was like, if you dive into a certain culture, these guys at 16, 17, like started making reggae. And at this point in their lives, at like 35, they've probably been in more reggae culture situations around the world than just some nigga in Florida complaining that they won a Grammy. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like really understanding the culture, and it goes past the skin color. Really, like
that's
if
dedication.
You go and dive into the culture, the people from the culture will accept you. You know what I mean? Because you're taking on something that they're proud of, and they're like, wow, this outsider is taking it on. It's usually the people who aren't even in that culture are like, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the music, and them boys make some amazing reggae music.
So who are some of your top reggae artists or bands?
So sonically, I love Soulja. Mike Love. A lot of people don't know about Mike Love.
Yeah, I don't
Mike,
know who that is.
Oh my God. And it's just a coincidence that we have the same last name, but he's an Oahu based reggae artist. And he's in his like mid 30s now too. And that's another thing about reggae that I kind of saw is as I'm getting a little bit older, you know, I mean, 30 is not that old, but at the same time, it's like trying to become a 35-year-old hip hop rapper versus becoming a 35-year-old reggae artist. Two different brands. Almost as you get older in reggae, you almost get better. You almost get like your legendariness ages, but then you get older in hip hop, you know, you become an uncle or you fall off. You either become cool like Uncle Snoop, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or you fall off and you're fucking Chingy or something.
Well,
like
you
that.
also are making your own like market kind of because you're doing both. Like, and there's a lot of like stigmas like in the industry. Like you have to be this way.
Yeah.
You don't, because you were just saying back in the day, like you were one thing. Like I'm a model. Like I'm not a model, but like, you know what I'm saying? You're oh yeah, I want to talk more about your modeling and acting as well. But continue with the reggae artist.
So Mike Love, an amazing reggae artist. He performs with a band, but he can do all of his songs without a band on a foot pedal and loop his shit. And he'll just be like loop that and then and just build the whole song with his voice and with his guitar and then sing the song.
You know FKJ?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that reminds me of that.
Very, very similar. But,
talent to the ceiling.
Oh
amazing.
My God. So like Mike Love, shout out Mike Love, and it's cool because he's finally really getting some like international praise. Like he would do shows in Hawaii for free all the time. Just like, and he was one of the Hawaii's biggest artists, and he would just do a show for free, pop up, you could come, he would stay and talk to you. Like I've met him multiple times. I was in college working on albums and I made CDs and shit. So I went to him, like he's probably got 3 of my albums. You know what I mean? So
that's
like,
the best thing.
I'm like, yo,
that's
my last name's Love too. We're gonna do a song together. So it's just cool. And he came out to Florida and he performed, and I got to see him there. So I really love Mike Love. I love Soulja. Obviously you go back, you know, Bob the Goat.
Goat, of course.
Like the Goat. Of course. And all of his descendants, like his descendants as well. My favorite right now is 2 things. One, favorite artist is Skip right now. Like Skip.
Yo,
I
was just about to say.
He is like the reincarnation of Bob. Like he looks like him. He sounds like him. Like he is his own entity, of course. You know what's crazy? He's his own being. But like that, like even more so than Damien, like he just his look alone. You look at that boy, you're like, yo, I can see your grandfather in you. It's crazy.
Everyone says that too. And like when I first moved here, Slow Down came out, I think. Man, I love that song so much. And then this is so weird and random, but I have a bearded dragon that I named Skip because I was either gonna be Marley or Skip, and then my friend that was living with me, she was like, Skip is different.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm gonna do Skip.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so sonically though, my goal, if I could paint any picture, is there's an album by Nas and Damian Marley. It's called Distant Relatives. It was a big album when it came out, but I bring it up to people. I bring it up to even older cats, and they don't know about it. But Nas and Damian Marley had this album, a joint album called Distant Relatives. And to me, that's what I want to be as one person. If I can fuse those two worlds, because the beats alone are very like hip hop, but they have like rootsy reggae. Like it was progressive, especially like you listen to it now. That album I think was done in 2010, and you listen to it now, and sonically, like the kicks are still there, the subs are still. It doesn't feel like you listen to a rap song for 2010. It feels like 2010, right? But you listen to this and it still feels like now almost. So
it's timeless.
That shows you that they were making music ahead of their time and things have to catch up. But that album is amazing because you will have the rootsy reggae and the production's just amazing. But then you'll have Damien come in with the super rootsy reggae, but it's conscious. And then on top of that, you'll have Nas come on top with some crazy conscious rapping, like, Nas, blah, 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 blah. Then back to Damien. I want to be that as one person. So that's the goal of the debut album. I guess I've told people before, I don't think I've ever said it on camera, but it's going to be called The Boulevard.
Wow. Exclusives here.
Exclusives. So I've actually known that since I was like 13 years old. Once I really started doing music and I was like, all right, I want to make an album. The Boulevard was the one. So now I've been doing it about 15 years. It's time to do that. And it's basically just my life story.
Nice.
Every song is going to be a street name.
Oh, that's cool.
Like a
that's
different,
really cool.
like my hospital, the address of my hospital, the address of my first home, the address of different addresses, and then they'll have like a name attached to it. But it's literally going to be my life story the first song is called The Womb. So I'm literally starting from the womb up until 30.
No features?
Probably my dad. He's always been wanting to rap on a track.
He raps?
No, he doesn't rap. But he's like, hey man, you always playing around, man. I got bars, blah blah blah. I'm gonna get on a song.
You should definitely do voiceovers.
Yeah. So that, and if it makes sense, it's not about not having features, because there's meaningful people in my life. It just if it makes sense, So, and then the last piece, and then we can get into other things like modeling and acting, but what I'm planning to do in the next few months is I'm saving up to get a trailer, like a fifth wheel, big boy. And I'm gonna hitch up maybe January. I'm shooting for March. And take about 3 months and hitch up and drive the country and write/record the album. So I'm gonna start in Florida, go up the East Coast, come across the top, go Cali, down Cali, come back around, and take maybe 2 or 3 months to do that. Stay at national parks, stay at, just like stay in the nature, just me and my dog, and create this album, create this music, and kind of just find myself, 6 months until I'm 30. This whole process is kind of like the process of resetting, boom,
it's a rebirth.
Rebirth. Really
it's like it's like 9 months to create a baby, 9 months to reinvent yourself.
Yep. It really is so and then I capped that off with going to Thailand for my 30th.
Nice.
Go out there and fight a little bit, chill out a little bit, and then come back to Florida and hit the ground running and start the company.
Amazing.
So that's kind of like the synopsis of where I'm at now.
But I love that because I can almost feel a different energy. Like, obviously I haven't heard anything yet, but it's like just the process of how you're talking about how you're going to lay everything out and how it has like a much more deeper meaning to you. Yeah. It's not just something that I'm going to just pull up on the mic and I'm going to just say something. This is like a journey for me.
Yeah. It's my life story. And honestly, like after I get the book, that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier, is after these 4 projects, the reggae album, the cover albums, just to kind of get me warmed up for, because the Boulevard is meant to be that Damian Marley Nas sound, to have the rap and the reggae. So the cover album comes first, just to really get me into that reggae zone. And then, I have to do the album for my dad's film, and then the rap album's just like a fuck you, basically. And then after that, after I get the Boulevard out, like I don't see anything. Like for a long time, I've been able to look, ever since I was 14, 15 and started music, I could look and see, but I don't see anything after that. And I think it's cool. It's kind of freeing. So maybe I'll never do another album. Probably not, who knows? Stuff might blow up and I might get some phone calls and I got to go places. If that happens, that's cool too. But I'm not putting anything on it. It's really, truly just about getting it out of me. You know what I mean? Like it really is just getting my life story out, because that's one thing my dad always said is he's like, in all your music, I've dropped a lot of music. I've dropped probably 5 full projects. And I call them albums because they're fully produced. They weren't, other people's beats. Like we mixed them, we mastered them. They might not have been under a label, but that's why, they're out on Spotify, all that. But he was like, yo, you talk about yourself and, in your music, you tell a lot of things and we can get who you are. But he's like, who are you though? Like, you haven't had that song or that moment of like, yo, explaining to the people who you are. We see this guy with the blonde dreads, we see all this stuff, but it's like, where does this dude come from? And he's like, if people really knew your story and where you came from and the things that you've been through, like that he's like, that's what's gonna make the people relate, and that's what's gonna blow you up. So I'm like, all right, time to give him the story now. You know, time to give it to him.
So this is almost like the identity reveal. Like,
yeah, for sure. Because there's a lot of stuff, you know, like one thing is I went to one thing that's going to be a big prevalence on the album. I have 2 or 3 songs is high school, right? You know, and that's a big part of anybody's lives. And some people let go of it. Some people can't. Some people live in high school. I'm not saying that's where I'm at, but it was a big part of my life. And I can look back and see how it constructed me. And there was one point in high school for about, let's say, sophomore, junior year, going into senior year, for maybe like 2.5 years where I was homeless. Like, me and my pops, we were homeless in LA, like sleeping in cars, sleeping in like hotels, sleeping in crack houses. Like, my dad was on crack, but like, you know, I had my dad's friend or an uncle, and there's this house with like 5 grown-ass men and this one dude who was a trust fund baby. His name's Uncle Pete. Shout out Uncle Pete. He's not a real uncle, but he's the son of one of the scientists who created the hydrogen bomb with Einstein back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was a musical genius. Dude was a musical genius, alcoholic, crackhead, but musical fucking genius. Like,
the people
when he wasn't on the shit, he was very like intellectual. He could fucking play Mozart and both.
I would love to hang out with him.
Yes. No, and then and then you come in and he's like, when he's drunk and fucked up. So like I was saying there, it was like roach infested, you know what I mean? You would walk in, people would be cooking crack sometimes. My dad would have to beat a nigga's ass every now and then.
How old were you?
This was like 15, 16, 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you and your dad didn't like, you guys were living in the situation, but didn't like take any part of anything.
Oh, hell no. Wait, like crack?
No, not even crack. But like, even just like, I don't know, like weed is more like
yeah,
more chill,
no, but like in terms of at least for me, you know, as a kid, my dad is 100% like hardcore. Like that nigga is something special. Like no one would. I would. That's the cool thing is because I was with him, it's not like I was ever safe. I never ever feared my life because my dad is straight alpha male, and like that man can break someone's neck with two moves, you know. So I never felt unsafe, and it was funny because the reason why we were in that situation was, my dad was working as a producer on this Hollywood TV show. It was called The Moment of Truth. Something like that. And basically they asked people 21 questions, and if you got all the questions right, you won $1 million. But towards the end, they asked you crazier questions like, have you ever stolen from your boss? You ever cheated on your husband? And if you lied, you lose all the money. But if you're able to tell the truth.
How did they wait? Do they have you hook up to like a polygraph or something?
Like a they, you know, shows like before they ask you the research, and they ask you questions before you come on the show and this and that. So he was a producer on that show, very low level, like bottom level producer. He was making $3,000 a week. And this was before I came out. This was the summer before I moved out from Florida. I did my 9th grade year here, Lake Brantley High School, gang. And then I moved out to Cali. And then so like right before I was out, he was working at this place and he was making good Hollywood money. Like imagine being a low level, like you're the bottom of all producers, right? And you're making $3,000 a week.
Hey, you're doing good.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So however, being a black man in the industry, he had to do some shit, and he was having to do basically like minorities would come in very early, like maybe 6-7 a.m. And then they'd be like, all right, boom, boom. My dad was like the guy to deal with the minorities, right? Black people, whoever. But then white people would come in later, maybe 10, 11, 12, and they would shoot them. So like the black people, Hispanics, they would be there from like 6 a.m. and wouldn't get shot until like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then they see all these other people coming in, the people that the producers really wanted on the show, blah, 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 right? And they would get shot right away. White people come in, get shot right away, go about their day. So the people would be like, yo, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. My dad was the guy in the middle. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Negro there, like, hey, niggas, hey, chill on out. We're good, boom, 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 boom. And he would have to go back to the white boys in the suits, like, all right, you know, corralling the Negroes, basically. So he made the decision, like, no, I'd rather fucking hustle in the streets and show my son a man who is about his integrity and a man who is about than to go and get the dollar knowing that I'm fucking over my own people. You know, so that was a decision he made. And that's why we were in that situation. And as I got older, even as a kid, I was like, cool. Well, like, whatever. I'm with you. I'm dope. Like, I don't care. I'm with you. But now that I'm older, like, that taught me such a life lesson. I'm like, yo, you got a fucking 14-year-old son in the streets. And because you don't want to go against your soul, you know what I mean? Go against other people. You rather live this sort of life and show them like this is the reality of life. You know what I mean? I could go be doing this, but it's harmful to people. So we're going to live like this.
And I can see those
down to ride. And I'm like, yo, I'm down to ride. And then on top of that, I was on a scholarship in high school to a private school called Montclair Prep. So I was going to school with like Macy Gray's kids, David Hasselhoff's kids, Sylvester Stallone's kids went to my school at one point, like celebrities' kids. Michael Jackson went to our school, not while I was there, but like when he was a kid, he went to that school at one point. So like the school was like $80K a year for high school. You know what I mean? Sheesh. And I was the quarterback, so I was on a full ride football scholarship. So literally, I'm going, and you know, our school had like 300 kids, really small private school. Our rival, funny enough, was Sierra Canyon, and Sierra Canyon is where Bronny James plays. So we used to play Sierra Canyon all the time. Like we were in that LA, you know what I mean? Bronny James. Like imagine the kids he goes to school with. Like I was going to school with those kids. And, you know, I'd be going to school and these kids are complaining like, my dad got me a C-class Beamer instead of a B-class Beamer. I fucking hate my life. Oh, my God. I'm like, bitch, I'm about to go sleep in a car. Or I'm about to go sleep in a crack house with roaches.
So how was that there, though? You couldn't really relate to them on, like, that level, so.
It was beautiful because, you know, like my mom's white. I come from, you know, suburbs, America, like, you know, Altamont Springs, but my dad's, you know, black from the hood, like for lack of a better term. So my whole life I've been back and forth. My whole life I've had to understand those two extremes of American races. And then if you can understand those, you can understand anything in between. Asians, Hispanics, all that other shit. That's all in between. And you're allowed to, you know, understand other people's cultures because my two cultures are so heavily opposite, like low-key racist white people with like, you know, like, right? So my whole life I had to go kind of back and forth and understand, and I think it built a very good quality in me to really like, I'm able to put myself in other people's perspectives.
That's a good blessing to have because a lot of people, they don't get to experience different cultures like that, and that they get so blinded, like that whoever you went to school with, oh, I didn't get this Beamer I wanted, like, yo.
And it showed me another side of life. Like I would go to school and I'd be like, yo, like honestly, I felt bad for them. I was like, y'all don't get it. Like y'all don't get how real it is out here. Like y'all are so, and I know that no individual can go through life 100% all rosy. So I felt bad for them for the day they realize my side of life.
Yes.
Because for me, it's like I only have up to go. Like y'all, I get to see the Beamers. I get to visualize and see these, that it's actually possible. Unlike maybe some kid in the hood who never even gets to see that. Yeah, like he doesn't even get to visualize that. So how is he supposed to do that for himself? At least I got to be around like my counselor. I'm in a meeting with my counselor. She got $1 million check. It's like to Shannon. You know what I mean? Like already cash and shit, but like I got to look at $1 million. Like yo, that shit's a reality. Like there's people out here making $1 million checks and more. Like whoa, you know. So when I saw that, I really felt bad for a lot of these kids, you know, and not all of them, because just because you have money doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you dumb, or doesn't make
Isn't going to make you happy.
Yeah. And it doesn't make you bad either. It doesn't make you like, not loving to people. That's taught, money or not money, you know? So there's a lot of these rich kids who would see my situation, and I made really cool bonds and really cool relationships with some really rich kids. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't judge me for my situation. You know what I mean? Because they were taught by their parents a different way. Now, some of the other kids weren't taught, or they were taught another way. So I just felt bad for the kids who were just, not even bad, but it's like, yo, life is too real. When life really kicks you, when you go through some shit and your mommy and daddy's not around and you have to like deal with maybe just a fraction of the shit I have to deal with, you're going to freak out and you're going to like explode, you know, internally combust. So it got me to see like, yeah, I might have to boom, boom, boom. I might have to like sleep in this car. I might have to, but I have a dad who fucking loves me. Like I have someone who is there. A lot of these kids, their parents aren't even home. You know what I mean? Like shout out my boy Goober. I don't know if he'll ever. Yo, Goober. Goober is a man. That. So Goober Goober was this kid, man. Shout out you, Goober. He was actually a really good friend of mine. And back in the day, back in high school, he was like just super nerdy. You know what I mean? Kind of got picked on by a lot of people.
Goober sounds like a nerd.
Yeah. And that wasn't his real name. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the name. But he took it on, you know,
I like it though.
But
he embraced it.
He got picked on a lot. And it was cool because of who I was, right? And all the shit that I've seen in the different worlds. Like I was the captain of the football team and I was the quarterback, but I also was like in honor rolls and had like a 4.0 GPA. So I was with the really smart kids, but then I was with the jocks as well. So I like related to everybody. So, you know, like someone like Goober got picked on a lot, but someone like me, like, yo, what up, go? Yeah. So we were cool. Turns out this kid is the son of the Golden State Warriors owner.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is right before they started winning all them championships, like right before. Maybe they won one. But so he was the son. And then Goober would go home and his dad was, I think he was adopted. So his dad was super, super old. You know, if you look it up, his dad's like super old, like 70 something. Oh, wow. So he would go home and his dad was never there. Big ass mansion. Like kids, I never went to his house, but like kids would talk about, yo, Goober invited me over. We went, oh, he's got this pool. He got this mansion. He got all these cars, blah, 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 blah. And not me being who I am, put myself in Goober's shoes and sat like, yo, it's got to be crazy not to have like real parents, to be adopted. Yeah, I might have millions and millions of dollars and might go to the Golden State and I'm on the boom, but like I go home to an empty house and a nanny. You know what I'm saying? Like there's the different sides of life, you know? So like being where I felt so blessed. I felt loved. And by senior year, we got our own apartment. You know what I'm saying? Things were looking up. My dad, you know, like everything was cool, but I would not trade those 2 years for anything. They really made me who I am in a way and allowed me to see. So that experience of high school, that's at least 2 or 3 songs of just like the Boulevard and really just talking about, because looking at me and just who I am, most people wouldn't assume that I went through shit like that. And I don't give it off. So that's when my pops was like, you got to tell your story. You know what I mean? And then that way people can at least know who you are and then relate to you. So.
And I feel like that's like a testament to how you've been able to like get to this level. Is just, it seems like no matter what stage you were at, you were just always in a realm of like gratitude of like what was going on with you and how it could be worse, but it's like you have good relationships, you have your dad and everything like that. Like, and it's
blessed, man. That's it. It's all perspective. It really is. Like, shit's gonna happen to all of us. You know what I mean? Like everything and anything can happen. You know what I mean? Like anything happens on this plane. You know, like people win the lotto, people, you know, make millions of dollars, and you know, babies die. Like that shit's real. Like all that shit happens and everything in between. So it's really about being the individual internally, not letting the world kind of corrupt you, not letting all this craziness just eat at you to the spot to where you're mad and you're angry, you know? So like really just living in a spot of just, I'm blessed. Yes, I don't have this. Yes, I don't have this. Yes, I want this. Yes, it could be better if I had this, and boom, 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 boom. But there's one line in a song that I made a long time ago, and it says, all that you have is all that you have, and all that you need is all that you have. So I had this thought of like, say someone were to come up, just stab you right now, right? You're laying out bleeding on the floor. You're like, until the moment you actually pass over and die or pass over to the next round, you have everything in you that you need to survive and keep bleeding. You have all the blood. You're bleeding out. But until you actually, you have all that you have. You only have what you have. But what you have is all that you need. You know what I mean? To get to where you want to go. You know, so like if you really understand that, then it's knowing that, yeah, I might not have everything right now, but if I can stay blessed and really just be appreciative of where I am, then you're only going to keep elevating.
Yeah, gratitude is the key to elevating.
For real.
And I noticed that just you going through those different things that you went through, it actually like brings you to a higher state of gratitude in the first place. Just because like you were talking about the kids who were like, oh, I didn't get this immaculate gift that I wanted. I got this lower class gift. It's like, how are you supposed to
accept anything?
Yeah.
Anything. Like, you can get anything and you'll never feel satisfied. You'll never feel full. You know what I mean? So I think that's a lot of like the Taoists, a lot of Buddhist teachings, a lot of like enlightenment teachings just talk about the only stresses that we have come from desiring things. If you don't desire anything, if you don't want nothing, then nothing will bother you. Now, way easier said than done, 1000%. But I think there's truth in that as well.
Have you gone through any like of those practices, like from like Tao or Hinduism, Buddhism?
Well,
like that?
I would say in Hawaii, and this is a big part of this journey as well. Is kind of get back to a little bit back to not who I was before, but where I was before. Because you always are who you are. That's that person's always inside of you, and even that future person, right? Like, say I were to win a Grammy, one day at 36. That means I won a Grammy at 10. That means I won a Grammy that means it was in my life path to win a Grammy. So let me just live like that.
Yep.
So what were we talking about?
Do you practice?
Do you practice
in Hawaii when I was there for about 6 years and I had that freedom, I did a lot of exploration. I got my undergrad, it was art. My undergrad was in studio art and art history. And with art history, you have to study Buddhist art. Art history is really history as well. So you're learning about the religions. You have to learn why they made the stupas, why they painted it this way, why the religion was this. And we did that for a lot of different religions. So educational wise, and Hawaii is very known for their international east, because they're in the middle. They're the west and the east. So they're a spot to where those kind of cultures and those minds meet in the middle in Hawaii and talk about Western philosophies versus Eastern philosophies. So educationally, yes, I had a lot of education about different religions, different philosophies, different backgrounds and practices, not only growing up, but in school through my degree. But I would say even past, the text and past learning what other men have developed about the world and now are putting out, I got an opportunity to ask myself and to live in a world where I was free of the distractions of everything. And I could really just be free enough to fucking take shrooms for a week and go walk around. You know what I mean? Like for a whole week. Like I was on shrooms. Like I did that like I think once a year for 3 years. I was on
a whole week?
A whole week.
Wow.
Shrooms. Lived in that. Because when you take shrooms, you're in this world and you have all these thoughts, but kind of like smoking or drinking, like your tolerance gets up to anything. You know what I mean?
Were you like microdosing? Or?
No, I was taking like
full on trips,
like at least 2 grams a day.
Dang,
like at least maybe a half an eighth to an eighth a day.
So how did that change you? How did that change your mind?
Oh man, well, different experience. It's not just the drugs. I'm just really talking about the freedom of the mental exploration. You know what I mean? There's times I was doing it without shrooms. You know what I mean? Just taking hikes and trips and sober hikes and hugging trees and having full conversations with the earth and but drugs do help.
So they're kind of like that catapult.
Yeah, it's a catalyst. But then you realize once you do that, there are ways to induce these feelings and to induce higher states of vibration without drugs, with breath, deep breath work, with meditation, and it takes longer and it takes practice. Drugs are kind of sometimes a shortcut, but sometimes they can become the crutch, right? That's when they get dangerous. But anyways, I would say as for the shrooms and that experience, it was like, it allowed me to, because I wanted to see, because like when you first do them, you're giggly, you almost can't talk, like at least, you know what I mean? You're just in this weird state. I want to see, like, could I get to a spot where I had these thoughts in this awakened state, but like existed in my actual life. Like went to the store. Oh my bad. Went to the store, went to Taco Bell and get to a spot to where maybe people couldn't even realize. You know what I mean? And because a lot of times where you're in those states, you want to tell people like, oh man, I did this or I did this. You're proud or you're afraid or whatever. So I got that spot of real control of like, do it for a few days, and it was wonky at first, but then once you were in that world and you stayed in it and you learn how to communicate, you learn how to talk. Now you're existing and you have those shroomy thoughts, those higher vibrational thoughts, but you're living out. You're not just in your room. You're not on a hike. Like you're interacting and you have to do shit throughout your day, right?
Dang, that sounds, it sounds like a lot.
I wasn't driving.
Interact.
Kids, do not drive on any hallucinogens. No, for real. Like don't drive on hallucinogens. Do drugs. Yeah. I specifically don't drive on hallucinogens. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
you can do drugs.
In Hawaii, I was, I could walk everywhere. You know what I mean? So like I would boom, boom, but I just lived in this state where I was able to be in that mindset and explore, and then you come out of it, and it's just little bits and pieces of finding yourself here.
So, how old were you when you were doing this?
I would say probably not my first year in college. Probably I started getting real trippy maybe my second year. So from 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah.
Would you say that kind of kickstarted your journey of consciousness and like higher like awareness?
I think it was always kickstarted. I was always that kind of kid. You know what I mean? Because you have to be, there's people who don't even ever want to try it. You know what I mean? Because they're like, oh my God, I don't know my mind. Blah,
well,
blah,
it's not for everybody
exactly.
either, though.
But that shows you that I was already in the mind state of exploring and accepting and trying to find myself and this and that. And if this natural remedy could possibly help me get there, you know what I'm saying? Or help me see something that I haven't seen before. Okay, cool. You know, because I was already in that state of, I want to explore. I want to find out about myself. I want to push past the boundaries of man, you know what I mean? And my own fears, you know? So I was already there. And that's why I was able to, you know, do these things. And I'm not saying like every shroom experience was the most magical. Like, no, sometimes you go through it and sometimes like you're meant to go through some shit. Like sometimes the certain things bring out of you what you're hiding from yourself. And what you put so low that you can just go and I can do work and I can do this, but you have something that you know comes up in your mind for a second and you put it down and you're not dealing with it.
It's like a teacher.
Yes, but the minute you take shrooms, the gates are unleashed.
Yes.
Those things that you don't want to think about, you think about, and you have to sit there and deal with it and cry it out or laugh it out or scream it out or whatever. But I will say this, even off of my more intense, I wouldn't even say bad shroom trips. I've had some intense shit. I've had a bad acid trip. I'll say that. But I've never had a bad shroom trip. I've had some intense ones, some really deep ones. But like every time after you come out and you're like, everything's okay.
Yeah.
Because you had to sit and think about this problem that was about to end your life and it was so boom, boom. But once you sat there and you couldn't and you just thought about it and you're like, you know what? I'm still alive. Like, my rent might not get paid tomorrow, but I'll be all right. There's no SWAT team's going to come in here and, you know? So, kind of keeps you calm. But yeah, that was a big time in my life where I was able to just explore. Did
you incorporate any like meditation or anything like that?
Yes. So that was a big part of it as well. Was there was a time, probably a solid year, I think maybe like my 21st year or something, where I trained heavily in astral projection and meditation, astral projection. But like I say astral projection specifically because that was like training for me. After you do a lot of research and realize things and this and that, you realize that these special powers that we all have within inside of us are only enacted if we put the energy into them. You know what I mean? Just like muscles, just like jumping high or whatever. Like you have to practice these things and do research and listen to other people, how they were able to do it and the things that they, hurdles. So once I did that research, I remember coming home for like 6 months straight from school, take the bus home, back to Chinatown, go in my bed, shut my windows, boom, and go practice for 3 hours. Now, it was different. Like I would basically be taking a 3-hour nap, but I wasn't like, there was intent behind it. It wasn't like I'm going to go to sleep. Right, I would sit there and I was like, I'm gonna astral project, and I did this research, and I remember that like if I sit here long enough, something's gonna get itchy. I have to ignore the itch because that's your body telling you, trying to test to see if you're awake or not. You know what I mean? So I ignore the itch, and then I start to feel my toes tingle, and I'm like, okay, this is something I remember reading. Like your toes will tingle, then your feet, and then if you concentrate and you breathe, boom, boom, and then you start to feel this, right? So after all this research and practice, right, and then it's the fear too. It's being able to let go, and then you get to spots where these things start to happen. All these things that you're reading, you're about to, and then you doubt it, or you freak out, and then you wake up, right?
And so you're back,
right? And then you're back, right? So it took me months coming home practicing, boom. But then I remember one specific time of astral projection that I could say I legitimately 1000% astral projected, and it was during a time where I was training to do this. Maybe it was like 6 or 7 months in. I'm like sleeping. It's like nighttime. Like it's kind of like I wake up and it's like, you ever see a movie where it has like this blue film over it, just like a nighttime kind of blue film? So like I'm like, oh, I think I was hungry or something. I don't know why I was up, but I go to stand up. I stand up, I'm like, and I look down and my feet are gone. Like it's just ankles into the floor. And I'm like, where the fuck are my feet? And this is different than this was a different state than a dream. Like there's times where like lucid dreaming is different than astral projection. Lucid dreaming is where you're dreaming, you realize within the dream that you're dreaming, and you're able to, shift the dream based off of that. Astral projection is taking, your ether body and going to different places, going to see dead relatives, going to different things.
But that could also be dangerous as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, do your research. But
yes.
So I looked down, I'm like, my feet are gone. And then it hit. I was like, I'm doing it. Don't freak out. I was like, don't freak out. Boom, boom, boom. I was like, okay, I'm like here. I was like, all right, let me walk to the door. So I went, and I didn't even walk. Like I just, and I was at the door, and I was like, okay. I was like, all right, through my training, if this is real right now, I'll be able, walls don't exist, doors don't exist. I'm in my ether body. I know my kitchen was underneath me. We had 2 stories. My room was on the second one. I was like, I'll be able to just sink down to my kitchen. Boom, boom, I'm in my kitchen. I'm like, oh shit. I'm literally looking around my kitchen. I'm like looking at like items, things that I know are there. Cause that's one practice that they say is like, go, like play something, remember something like that little Eiffel Tower, right? Or like put something somewhere. And then when you go to sleep and you astral project, you can go to that thing and see, oh wow. Like
that's like an inception.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm looking around. I'm like, yo, this is my kitchen. I go out to like my little living room. There's a door and like a window. And I get to the window. I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm about to go explore. I'm about to just shoot off into space. Now, if this is where I kind of back up.
You just hit the window.
And I'm just like, you have to fly through the window, bro. Like, this is it. Like, you have to fly through the window. Like, so then I go, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I go, ooh. And right before I get the window, I felt myself doubt myself. Hit the window. And I'm up. And I'm like, fuck. I was excited, but I was like, yo, I almost made it to that next. Just what else was out there?
It's like your excitement gauge hit too high, and you was just like, all right, nope.
Nah, it's that hesitation. It's like what that reminds me of what you just said. You ever, because if you didn't know, I did martial arts too, or I still do. And a lot of the time when you do a belt test, you have to break like pieces of wood in different ways or whatever. That's like that hesitation. You ever like had to hit a wood? If you hesitate when you punch it, that's the worst thing.
You gotta punch through it.
Yeah, you gotta go through. But have y'all ever seen Lock and Key? It's a show on Netflix. Y'all gotta watch this. But that also reminds me of that because it's really cool. It's like this house that belonged to this family called the Locks, and they have these different keys for different things. So you can go into someone's mind. There's this one where you walk to the door. Once you leave the door, your body drops and your soul can go explore.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you have to come back. And if someone closes the door, you're like,
your tether is gone.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because like I was thinking these things and going through these things, literally 10 years ago. And I was a trippy dude. That's trippy Trey. Like, oh my God, boom, 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 boom. But now it's everywhere. Now you have Doctor Strange. Now you have, you know what I mean? All these Hollywood movies, just talking about these other things.
But they make it seem fake.
They do, but they put you can't just give them the answers. You can't give the people. You have to put it. It's like the fairy tales. It's the riddles. The answers are out there, but the people have to develop them. Because if you most people are like, oh, that was a cool movie, but certain people, and that's why kids who are closer to that true self than anybody else, they just came out the womb. They just came from the other side. You know what I mean? That's why those movies relate to kids, because they're not bombarded by the world's, all that shit. Like to them, that shit can really happen, and it keeps that mind going. And I truly believe that, like, as adults, that shit is real too. You can keep that shit going. You can keep the magic of life going if you believe.
So when you were astral projecting, did you ever get in touch with any past life experiences?
So I did meditation one time. This one time, I never. Couple times. One time I did this meditation where I met my future self, right? Like I did this research and watched it boom, boom, and I was like, go out, boom, boom. And I met my future self and like walked up. Don't remember too much, but it was, when I was like 20, 21. However, I think it was on my 22nd birthday or something. I went to I was on tour when I was on tour. I went on tour one time, inter-island music tour. All the different islands. We island hopped for like crazy. 7 days and
that
did
sounds
like
amazing.
a few different shows. Right. It was really cool. It was like the one and only tour that I've done. So hopefully I get it. That's one experience that I want again for sure. But me and my boy John Lyon, shout out John Lyon, check him out. You can look him up on all platforms. He's another amazing artist, amazing producer. One of my brothers that I started really doing the music with back in the day. But we went to this black sand beach on the Big Island. It was a nude beach. So right, and we go and like we take the shrooms. We took some shrooms on that one. We had like a friend who was on shrooms, right? This older cat named G. He drove us there. Boom. We get, and like they're kind of kicking in, right? You know, and the cool thing about Hawaii beaches, it's not like Florida. Like you have to earn it. Like the most beautiful beaches in Hawaii, you have to like go over some hall. Yeah, you gotta like go there and go through these bushes, and then boom, you're at this magical place. Not like just okay, we're at the beach. Like you always gotta like climb some hill or do some crazy ass shit to get there. But so we're like going around this rock and stuff, and like the shrooms are kicking in, and then like John's behind me. This is before we get to the beach, right? And then I look around the corner. I'm like, oh. He's like, what? I'm like, bro, it's so beautiful, right? And then we're kicking in. So we go down. It was like this long beach, all black sand. And we get down there, and it was a nude beach, but it was cool because it was like, it was babies. There was, you know what I mean, old men. There's old ladies. There's pretty ladies. There's non-pretty ladies.
His face when you said old men.
So, no, but for real, like, so you had to understand, because that's the biggest thing about nude beaches, that break of sexuality and sex. You know what I mean? That little thing. So even just being a young man, it's like you'll see some big titties, but oh man, and you see an old ass, and you're like, oh, right? Especially on shrooms as well. So you go down there, and now I'm there, and I'm like, right away, my spirit's like, there's no way you're gonna be here on shrooms and not get naked. Like you have to. Like why? Like we're just gonna sit in your clothes like a little bitch? Like,
you know? That sounds insane.
So like my John Lyon and G were standing here. I'm like here, and I got butt ass naked, and I just like ran to the beach, and I just like ran to the water. Boom. And then John told me later, he was like, yeah, I was just talking to G, and I just saw your ass run naked right past us and went straight to the water. And he was like, fuck. Damn it, that means I gotta do it too. But so it was this amazing experience. And then, you know, they had like a drum circle, like all around a drum circle. But I went off and did some private meditation in the spot, in this like rock on the sun. I was sitting there meditating, and then the voice came to me, and it was telling me that I have been here at that time. It was 3,762 years, right? In multiple life forms, in multiple ways. And I was saying that like that means you could have lived a second as a fly, and then a week as a lizard, and then boom, boom. Like that is how long you've been on Earth in terms of Earth. We had to give it to you in years because that's how you understand. But that's how many life cycles. And it's I think at that time it was like you've had 81 life cycles. So basically like 81 different lives on Earth as different creatures up until this. I wasn't able to go like much further than that, but I sat there and like had more revelation. So now that I'm here, and now that I've had these experiences at such a young age, and I know how I got them, that's kind of where I'm at now. Is like, all right, it's time to kind of strip myself of everything and kind of go not only back there, but past there, right? Like how I was, different thoughts, different energies, like, and I chose to come to the mainland and to work hard and to hustle and, you know, to dive into the business and become a businessman and understand that. And I've been doing that for a while. So now, before I go and do that for real again, I'm taking a step back and kind of going back to those thoughts, you know, taking this trip is really going to be the trip to kind of like resettle into myself, so that when I come back, I'll have even more of a grasp. Yeah. But yeah, so it's been a minute since I've been to explore like that, you know, being in the density of this world, you know, especially like in major cities. It's like, that's the only way I can explain it, is the energy is very dense. There's more people. So there's more thoughts. There's more happy thoughts. There's more negative thoughts. There's no escape. And it's not just like physically crowded. It's like, imagine all these people thinking and energy just radiating. So we go through the city, we go throughout our day, and we're literally just in a big ass vast of energy. You know what I mean? A big ass stew of like, you know, different cultures, different people, you know what I mean? Like happy people, sad people, murderers, non-murderers, like all these different energies, people crying, people not crying, like are just imagine like a fog, you know?
It's not even just people though, because we have energies, but so does like places and things.
Yeah, places, things, phones. Like my dad, when my dad was here, he because I was telling him that like it's hard to like get back there, and he's like, bro, there's plenty of places you can go. Yes, you have to take yourself out of your home and you have to go find these places, but there's plenty of places that you can go to re-tap in. He's like, you ever been to the Mead Gardens or the Lou Gardens? He went there a couple of times. Like, bro, this is Florida. Like, that shit used to be a plantation. He's like, I walk on there and I can feel my ancestors. I can feel slaves on this place. You know what I mean? Like, you can go there and sit and meditate and talk to your ancestors. Like, you have to make that conscious choice to do these things, to try to break free from, especially knowing. A lot of people don't know. Ignorance is bliss. A lot of people just, you know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? Just here and just living and boom, boom. But the minute certain people hit that little bit of that one life event or that one conversation that like opens their eyes, once you see the other side, you can't. It eats you alive.
Can't go
back.
Know,
you can't go back. You try to be regular, but then like it literally will eat you alive.
That's one thing that that's crazy about the books that I've read like in this sector of things. They all have a warning at the beginning that says, hey, you're going to find some stuff out that when you open this door, if you try to go back, there's only insanity for you. Like, that's it. Like, you're going to have to evolve.
Yeah. It's a blessing, though.
It's a bliss.
Yeah.
It's so
it's
true.
The ugly truth, but it changes you. But I had a similar experience to what you had at the beach, too, with the, like, you knew that you were there, like, 370, however many years ago. Because, you know, my mom's Brazilian. I went to...
That's deep. That's deep. Like that's deep. Especially
just wait. So like, yeah, my mom was born and raised in Brazil. She grew up on a farm and she was pretty poor. She was the oldest of like 10 something siblings. Wow. But she had a lot. My grandpa was a hoe, so I don't know. But anyways, we went to this place called Bahia, and it's basically the spot in Brazil, and it's right now near El Salvador. This whole place is the biggest Afro culture part in Brazil. Okay. So we went there to visit for a vacation, me, my mom, my cousin, and her girlfriend. And it was nobody was there. It was just a chill time. None of my family that I know of is from this place. But I did not bring any like weed. I wasn't tripping or anything. It was like a sober vacation for me, and it was on this beautiful beach. Yeah. Literally empty for miles. Like, it was a paradise beach all to ourselves. And I remember one day, like, I was going through something like I don't want to share because it's like super deep, and
that's okay.
I'll maybe share with you guys after. But I had this one night where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get up and go watch the sunrise. Like, I just felt a calling to do that. So I went by myself, and it was super quiet on the beach. And I literally had the same thing. Like, I know that I have ancestors that were there, that I was experiencing. Like, I had to go back there for them to, like, or for that energy to be, like, forgiven. 100%. Yeah. It was, like, so crazy for me. I was, like, crying. Like, it was insane.
100%. And that shows that, like, the location and, like, you know, you were going back to literally where your DNA is from. You know? So it's, like, something's going to be sparked. Something's going to be enacted, you know? And especially... if you're calling, especially if you're in a sad state, there's no way you're going to be where your ancestors were and they're going to let you just stay there. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to come to lift you up and then give you the mental information, you know, that you need to keep going. So, and it's about believing it too. Like, the whole coincidence thing, it's like the less you see coincidences, the less they happen. Kind of meaning, like, you know, if you see things as a coincidence, you fail the test. The universe is trying to show you something. And the minute you're like, oh man, that's not a coincidence. Then they're like, okay, he got it.
They're going to show you more.
Until you get to a spot to where I'm sure you guys meet those people all the time, and these people get made fun of, but these are very special people. Those people who think everything's a coincidence or everything's connected. Like, those people are like, yo, my God, this water bottle fell over at 12:02 p.m. Boom, boom. And we just look at them like they're fucking crazy. Imagine the thing that's going on in their imagine
Yo,
that
it's
connection.
The butterfly effect.
It's literally like how the deeper you can go and the more you can just let go of, like, more you can understand nothing's a coincidence and everything happens specifically. Everything that you see, everything that you hear for you happens specifically. And the more you can look into that, the more the universe will open these doors of like, you know, it might be this tiny to someone else, but to you, it's like, oh my God. Like, for example, I went, I asked for my spirit animal. I was like, I want my spirit animal because I started fighting, you know, and I like maybe like a year into fighting, I was like, I want to know. So I sat maybe like a week, some time went by, boom, boom. And then I forgot how it came to me. Maybe it was in a dream or something, but it turns out dragonflies, right?
Wow.
Ooh.
Dragonflies. I have a crazy story about that too.
And then I go back and I remember when I was a kid, we had a pool, and I used to do this thing when I was a kid. I would get in the pool and go save all the bugs, right? Like, boom, 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 you know, and like the bugs would be, and I would save them and like get them in the sun and give them CPR and then let them go. Like, you lived, all right. And then anytime like the super bug that I would find would be dragonflies. And anytime I saved a dragonfly's life, I was like,
a bonus.
Yeah, that's right. You know, so then I'm like, yo, it makes sense. I go to the beach, a dragonfly comes, lands on my toe for like right after I have this. I
saw that picture.
You saw that picture?
Yes.
Dude, sat on me for like literally 7 minutes. I remember before, a few years ago, before I even asked, I was at Elekaiii Springs, and it was on my birthday, and I'm with two of my best friends in life, Luke and Antonio. And Luke and I are tripping. Antonio's not. Antonio's very realistic.
I love how you have a trip sitter every time.
Right?
You always have a trip sitter.
Always have a trip sitter, for sure. Because if all three of y'all freaking out and someone goes down, like, you need that one person just to be like, yo, everything's good, or everything's not good, we got to go, right? So, but Antonio is super like, you know, at that point in his life, he didn't really believe, you know, he was like, oh, it's all coincidences, very just like, you know, boom. So I was there, and I saw this dragonfly. I held on my finger, and I was like, "Come here, dragonfly!" And I just connected.
You guys
with
made
it.
eye contact.
And it just went off, and literally the dragonfly's flying away, and it just stops, and it hovers, and it turns around, and it comes and it lands on my finger. I swear to God, for like a minute, long enough to me to be like, Luke, look, the dragonfly. And Luke's like, oh, what? And then, you know, we're shrooming, so maybe I'm tripping. Antonio, he's like, oh. A dragonfly landed on your finger. It's just staying there,
some
right?
confirmation.
You know? I'm like, bro. So I go back and I see all these things, but I asked for my spirit animal to help me fight. I think the following time that I go train, after I find it out, I go to the beach. It lands on my toe. That Monday, I go to the gym with my trainer, and it's a big gym. And we always have this one specific spot that I go to that I work out with my little pad there to do all my stuff. So I go in, pop, music playing, pop, put my stuff. Go to that spot. There is a dead dragonfly, perfectly preserved in the middle of my mat, like just. And
reserved.
That doesn't. Yeah, for you. Yeah, right. It didn't matter that it was dead. It wasn't like, oh, it was just like, oh. So I picked it up, and I have this like little dinosaur dragonfly, and I'm like, yo, like 2 days ago, I'm like, this is it. And so I'm like, coach, bro, the dragonfly, and I did this, and it was my spirit animal, and he's like, okay, you ready to work out? I'm like, you don't see, but I see. You know what I mean? To him, it was just like, okay, you found a dead dragonfly in your thing. Let's get to working out. But for me, in that workout was immaculate, and it just kept me going. And now I put it in, what is that, silicone or something? I have it like, you know.
Oh, that's nice.
Crazy. I feel like you do give me that type of energy, that dragonfly energy.
Yes.
I love them. They're cool because I like them because too, after I did more research, and they're like, all right, if you want to, you know, assess this to your mind as your fighting power. I'm like, all right, let's look into these things. They actually are very special creatures. They're the only creature that can go left, right, up, down, diagonal. Hummingbirds can do that too. They can fly inverted, upside down. Dragonflies.
Dang.
Only ones that can. Not only that, they actually are only dragonflies for about a year, but they live underwater as nymphs for 6 years.
What?
Wow.
They're born underwater as these little underwater killers. Like they're little baby, like dragonflies underwater, no wings, but they're these just straight killers. Like they eat little fish. Like they'll just stand there. Pow, pow, pow.
What do they look like? Like tadpoles or something?
No, they look like maybe imagine like Like a dragon or like a grasshopper underneath, and they got these claws, like a praying mantis, like an underwater praying mantis kind of, and they just kill shit for 6 years and just like straight monsters underwater.
So the crazy thing is that there's like a mark on, I forget where it is on my nose.
Yeah.
But I have a really crazy connection with dragonflies because every time that I meditate, when I get out of the meditation, there's almost always an array of them around me. But there was this one specific time where, and I assume that's why because I didn't know that about how they start in the water, but I assume that's why they only really bite when they're smaller, because the bigger ones don't really bite. But yeah, so I was meditating, and you know how you said that when you're trying to do the astral projection thing, you got to get away from the itching and stuff like that. So any sensations, I was like, okay, they're not real.
Yeah.
I don't care about them. So I felt this sensation like of something like almost on my nose. Yeah. And I was like, no, it's nothing. Yeah. I'm here. I'm good. And then
that was a real sensation, my friend.
Yes. And then it got intense, like painful for a second. And I was like, okay, hold on. This is too much. I open my eyes and there's a little baby dragonfly that has bit my nose. What? And he didn't leave. He just crazy. Sat there, and I was like,
you're like eye to eye with the dragonfly.
Yes. I'm like, I was so deep that I wasn't moving my body or anything. So it was just insane. But that's crazy that
that's nuts.
You that's connecting nuts. That is like wild. Like,
So they're straight killers underwater. And then after about anywhere between 4 and 6 years, they grow their wings, come out the water. And
hey, that's like you guys.
Dragonfly.
So you just got that 6 years of practice and aggression, and then you just
that's the idea with fighting too. Is like right now I'm in nymph stage. I'm an amateur fighter, and I just got to go up and just make it ugly and just knock cats out and just eat them up.
Yeah,
and not even be fancy, because like I love fancy moves. And not to say that I can't do that, but I feel like after a while, once I turn pro, then I'll become the true dragonfly. You know what I mean? Like, this is my amateur bout, is me being a nymph and just learning the game and just taking shots and, going through what it is to be a fighter. But once I make it to that next level, then it's like, all right, time to get flashy, time to like, you know what I mean? Like, time to really. I mean, I put it like this. I started it when I was 27. I really started training to fight. I put a 10-year limit, 37. Maybe 38. I won't go past 38 fighting wise. Whatever happens in that time, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try. I'm definitely making it pro. But whatever happens in that time happens. I would love to go to the UFC. That would be amazing. That would be like, that's the ultimate goal. It's scary as shit. But at the same time, like, that is, because I'm an entertainer, bro. Let me make it to the UFC. I'm walking out rapping my own songs. Like, I'm going to be talking shit in the ring. Press conferences, I'm gonna be talking shit. Like, I cannot wait for the entertainment side of that. The other side is you got to win your fights. You know what I'm saying? To keep entertaining,
gotta
right?
back it up.
But I will milk the shit out of that opportunity, like 100%. All I got to do is win fights, and then from there I can talk as much shit as I want, and just like Conor did it right. I don't care if you like him or not. Conor McGregor did that shit right.
Marketing genius.
Marketing genius. So, and I think that's a big part of the fight world too, is understanding it's entertainment. Just like, and that's how I see it now. It's like another form. It's another art form, martial arts.
Fighting is so, like, there's so much that goes into it, because it is entertainment. Like, there's crazy stuff that like happens in that world. But at the same time, like, I feel like martial arts is like how do you say meditative? Yeah. Like, man, like, I don't know where I would be without that if I was growing up, like, not doing anything.
And I think that's the biggest reason why I really dove into this world of fighting, was because as much as I love the music, I've always been an athlete. Like in high school, I was like a 5-6 sport athlete. Like, I was planning to go to the NFL. That was my goal. Went to the University of Hawaii as a walk-on. And politics, the higher up you get in these systems, the more money that's around, the more politics happen. But I think that I wanted to challenge myself with something, the hardest thing that I could. And it was like, and I wanted to become a pro athlete. I was like, I couldn't make it to the NFL at 27. Can't really make it to the NBA, at 27. But some of the top fighters in the world are champion at 35, 36, 37 years old. So I was like, all right. And I was a fighter as a kid too. So I was like, all right, let's dive into this. And it's literally been the most mentally, physically, spiritually challenging and growth thing, but now it's like a part of me. Now I can't live without it. Like
is 7 like a prominent number in your life?
I don't know why. No, not 7.
I feel like there's been a lot of 7s recently, like that you've been mentioning.
Really?
Just something that I've been feeling. Like you said, like 7 minutes, and then when you were talking about the dragonfly, and then 7 was in your past lives number. And then you just said 7 for something else.
All right. Well, I'm gonna keep it. See, nothing's a coincidence.
Yeah,
this is what I like. You're paying attention.
Keep me updated.
You're keeping me on your toes, on my toes, right there. I'm not even paying attention. But yeah, so that's kind of like that's where I am fight wise, musically, acting and modeling wise. I've really just jumped back into that world and kind of going full force in that world right now. As a form, not fully as a form of art, maybe more acting. I like the art, but like I stopped modeling for a while. Like honestly, I would say a few years ago, I was probably, at least when it comes to high fashion, top 3 runway models here in Orlando. Like I was doing shows on shows. And then Orlando's a different market, you know, when it comes to high fashion. They don't really pay people. Like they got so many people who just want to be in the industry that I'll do it for photos and boom, boom. So I was like, all right, I'm not doing this just for that. Like y'all got to start paying me to come to the show, because like if y'all want me, like I am who I am. Y'all know I'm a great model. Y'all know I'm professional and I do what I do. As for the modeling, like I was definitely one of the top models in Orlando, like unarguably. But then it was just like, no, then I went to New York Fashion Week. That's what did it. I was like, all right, let me make the jump to New York Fashion Week. Boom, boom. Went up there, went on a few auditions, got a couple of shows. But what I realized was, as a model, like, man, modeling's not where it's at fully.
Why do you say that?
At least for me as a creator, right? As an artist. Like, I like bringing stuff from my soul and bringing it out to the world. Modeling's like, hey, bro, walk from here to there and walk back.
It's the opposite.
Right? You know what I mean?
It's nothing about your soul.
And then it's crazy, too, because as a model, the people love you. Like, oh, my God, you're a model. Oh, you're on the runway. Like, you know, like girls and after the show, like everybody loves you, right? But behind the scenes, models are indispensable. Like runway shows are not about the models at all. They're about the clothes, the designers, and the showrunner, like the producer of the show. Like behind the scenes, when you're back there, if you don't want to do something, if you have an attitude, like and that's what I realized in New York too. Like I feel like I'm a pretty unique looking person. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really run into people who look very similar to me all the time. But when I went up to these auditions, like there's another like 6 niggas that look just like me. I'm like, they're like, you're not unique. There's another 5 dudes down the street that we can come do and walk in these clothes. So it's like you're behind the scenes as a model. You're just like piss posh.
Like your emotion. You know what you're I mean? A moving mannequin.
Exactly. We don't give a fuck about you. You're piss posh. But then it feels good to be out there, and then the people love you, and you get to be a model. And then, you know, if you're getting paid, then it's worth it, this and that. But it just wasn't feeling my soul at the time. Acting, I've always respected. Acting has always been something that I wanted to do as I got older, because my dad's a filmmaker. He's an actor. He's been in the game 25 years. I've been on sets. I've seen it all. I know how deep that world is, and I know my brain. Like I know, and that's why I kind of see like a lot of these musicians who become actors, how they kind of have to step away from music, because to really become a good actor, you have to go there. You have to like dive into that world. And I knew I haven't been ready to fully dive there. But now that I'm back into my creative bag, back into making music, back into doing these things. Like I'm looking at, I see 3 things, right? We have when people ask you like, oh, what's your job? They go, what do you do? What's your job? They're not asking you, they're asking you 3 things. They're asking you, how do you make money? What's your passion? Right? Well, really they're asking you, how do you make money? But to me, there's 3 things that's really going on. You have, how do you make money? What is your passion? What are your hobbies? Right? Now, sometimes we're lucky enough that our passion is a thing that we make money from. A lot of times that's the goal for a lot of creators and a lot of people is like, oh, I want to make money off of my music. I want to make money. I want to make a living off of my passion. Sometimes people make money really easily and it just fuels their passion. And they don't even want to get rid of this job because it's like, this is how I make my money. and I still get to do my passion. I don't mind making my money this way. It doesn't define me. I can make a lot of money and I still have enough time to do my passion. Right. And then passion to me is something that you would do that you have to do for like that you just have to, that is in your soul. That's whether it's artistry, whether it's singing, rapping, whether it's like, you know what I mean? Just something that your soul tells you you have to get out to the world. That is almost like your responsibility to the universe, right? And then when people put those away, those passions away, and just focus on the monetary, that's when they get eaten alive and they feel dead and all that stuff. And then the third thing is, so your passions is what you would do no matter what. We're very lucky if our passion can be the thing that makes us money. And the third thing to me are just our hobbies, are those things that we'll do. We're not trying to be the best at. Like I love paintballing. You know what I mean? Like that's one of my
so lit.
It's one of my hobbies. I'm never gonna be a professional paintballer. I'm not trying to. I don't care to. But it's a hobby. You know. So, I think for me right now, I'm looking at modeling as not a passion or a hobby, but as my job, which I'm good at. I don't mind if I can, if I can make a $3,000 check to drive to Miami and for a 2-day photo shoot, I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not? Just because I don't want to be a model? No, like I'm gonna do it, and that's what I'm gonna use to make my money. It's gonna fuel my passion, which is the music and the creativity, and then I got my hobbies on the side. So that's work. That's kind of where it's at with the modeling, and I might as well do something that I know I can get some money from. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Flipping burgers, fuck that. I mean, if you flip burgers, if you like it, do it. My brother's a cook. I always say that, bro. I be talking to my brother, and he's like a restaurant owner and like a cook and a chef. And I'd be like, yeah, man, I love my life, man. It's better than flipping burgers. And I'm like, oh, I know you like flipping burgers. But you know what I mean. Like, so if you like flipping burgers, flip away, Yeah, but
that goes with the thing that you were saying with the passion thing. Like, if that's part of your passion, like you really love making good food for good people, like
that's it.
Hey,
that's it.
Yeah. That's great.
All right, so to wrap up, let's ask him some quick questions. What's up?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, yeah. Let's go.
Okay.
Quick question.
So I got some of mine, but I also want you to incorporate some of yours.
Okay. I'll keep them short, too, so we can get through it.
Okay.
First one. If there was one person you could have dinner with, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, man. One person I could have dinner with, dead or alive, who would it be? Maybe, probably one of my greatest ancestors. Like if there's like an Egyptian pharaoh that was my ancestor, that nigga. I'm trying to talk to him.
All right. If you had to eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, man, one thing for the rest of my life. Oh, that is good. That's a good question. I would probably say sushi. Just because I know there's so many different types.
What roll?
No, sushi in general. All the types.
All right, I'll give you that one.
Godzilla roll. I like the Godzilla.
Oh, yeah. Godzilla. I got one more question, then you could do yours. I just noticed all of my questions are about one thing. 111. That's my angel number. That's crazy.
We were just talking about that.
Right? Yep. If you could make one rule for the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
One rule for the world that everyone had to follow.
It's a good one, right?
That is. You would have to love yourself before you can try to love anyone else.
Beautiful rule. Amazing.
I think people try to love other people and they don't know how to love themselves. And if we all could love ourselves, loving other people would be a lot easier.
That's a lesson.
Yes.
That's a good lesson.
For real. Okay, so mine is, I don't have them written down, so I'm going to just spitball them. But would you do ayahuasca? And if so, where?
Well, it's funny you say that. I was doing a lot of research. Yes. One, yes, I will. Two, I mean, naturally you want to, obviously you want to go back to the traditional, like go to like South
Amazon.
America and all that. That'd be nice. However, I think the experience it's about the experience. You know what I mean? It's funny because there's only 2 sanctioned ayahuasca churches in America that are that are approved by the government. One of them's in Orlando.
Really? I used to do a lot of research on ayahuasca just for fun when I was in high school because I was like, this is crazy. This is interesting. but there is a lot of abuse that's been coming out. So be careful where you go, because if you're not there, people will like have taken advantage of them.
Oh yeah.
So go somewhere real.
It's more about like, for me, it would be the right person. Like they, you know what I mean? Like really understand the right person and having a guide, you know, even for like when I did like acid my first time, when I did DMT my first time, I had like a guide. Like the person there actually made the acid, made the DMT. We sat.
It's like a shaman.
Yeah, basically my shaman. And he's a really good friend of mine now. And he wasn't that much older. He's probably like, 5 or 6 years older, but he was like in Hawaii, even deeper on that spiritual tip than me, because he was doing it longer. So, he got to the point where he was making his own acid, making his own DMT from tree bark. Boom, boom, boom. So we sat and talked for like 4 or 5 hours, and then we did DMT, and then after that he handed me 7 little Oreos and he said, all right, and I took 7 tabs of acid.
Wow.
We need to have you on for another episode.
Yes,
to talk about this.
yes, that sounds
my
crazy.
first time ever. 7 tabs of acid, my first time. That crazy. I would not recommend. Kids.
Yeah. That sounds like a big jump from.
One is enough.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, be careful.
And once you, it was cool because I had the shaman. You know what I mean? Like I had someone there who at least I truly felt like I could trust, who
guides your energy.
Yeah, to help me. And you know what I mean? Like at that point, I will say this. I'm sure ayahuasca and DMT, like here, I don't care how much shrooms or acid you do, it's still here.
Yeah.
It's still here. You're still on Earth. You know what I mean? Like no matter how much I've ever done, like things might shift, but you're still on Earth.
It's DMT you're not transcending anywhere.
So you're not here. You know, you're somewhere else. So
gone.
All right, next question.
Yep.
Okay. Last question. If you had one place in the world that you feel like would be the best place for you to write an album, where would that place be?
Boop, 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 boop. I would say maybe I would say 2 things. One, oh man. All right. 3. One, Big Island, Hawaii. Hilo, Hawaii specifically. That's my favorite place in all the Hawaiian Islands, because it's actually really rainy over there. It's super rainy, super spiritual, and it's some of the newest land on the earth. 2, Jamaica. Like I've never been. I have to go and just boom. And then 3, I heard of I think it was the Rolling Stones, but they did this album one time where they were on a yacht, and correct me if I'm wrong, internet, but they were on like a yacht or something, and they traveled on their yacht. So they would like go to like South America, pop out, do some shit, go on the yacht, record, and they like traveled the world and recorded the album on their yacht.
No, there's people that do that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that.
Well, you're about to go do that.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. So,
yes.
Just the world.
I guess let's say my trailer that I'm going to get in a few months. That's going to be the best place to write an album.
Nice.
What are you going to name your trailer?
Oh, I have to see her first. I gotta see her, man. I can't wait though, because it's scary though. It's really scary because I was at home, and I had no roommates around or anything for a while, and I hadn't been around like being at the studio for so long, especially living there. There's always someone there, always something going on. So I was alone for the first time in a while, like alone for the first time in a minute. I was like, I used to being alone, but now, since the studio, I'm always around people. I was like, "Whoa, this is weird. This is different." I forgot about this, and then I realized, well, what do you think's gonna happen when you're on the road by yourself for 3 months? Just like, this is what you're calling for. So get ready, buddy.
Yeah,
you're gonna come back a different person.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think so too. I think it's
adventure.
gonna be scary and challenging at times for sure. You know what I mean? But at the same time, once I make it back, like another thing under the belt.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
Well, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you.
Yes. Appreciate the conversation.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You guys, we got to have you back on.
Yeah,
like, there's so much more we need to talk
Drink
about.
Champs episode 2.
Yeah.
Yes,
Talk about some crazy.
I also shout out to Kai, because he is also going to be a new host that you guys will be seeing.
All right.
Yes.
Yay.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day. To give them plug yourself out. Tell them your Instagram,
yes.
Spotify.
Find you.
Well, it's your boy Treyvon Love, aka The Revolution, You can find me everywhere on Google, Spotify. Find me anywhere that you want. Treyvon Love, Treyvon Love. If you type in that name on Google, all my stuff will come out. But yeah, got music videos, got everything. Just stay on the lookout and stay tuned to Supreme Soul Clips, man. She's fire.
Yes,
fire.
Go watch Florida Noise.
Yeah, Florida Noise, and like I said, I'm working on 4 projects right now, and in the meantime, I have a few singles that are gonna slowly be releasing on the lead up. So,
and we're ready.
Yeah,
we're ready.
Yes.
Ready? All right.
Y'all ready for the revolution?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Peace.